Assalamu alaikum ji, hope you are doing good. This is Advocate USMAN ABID and you are watching the law session. My today's topic is what is Qatl, what are the kinds of Qatl and what are the punishments of the Qatl. So firstly we see what is Qatl. See, the definition of Qatl is provided under section 299 of the PPC, which states causing death of any person is called Qatl. Number one. Now the kinds of Qatl, there are 4 kinds of Qatl are provided in the PPC. Number 1, Qatl, number 2, Qatl Shbih, number 3, Qatl khata, and the last one is Kathal Bisaba. So firstly we see what is Qatl. See, this is the most important kind of Qatl, Qatl. The ingredients of the Qatl are that if any person with intention to kill someone, to cause somebody's death, number 1, or with the intention to cause bodily injury to any person. So intention, the presence of intention is compulsory for Qatl. With intention, do an act which in ordinary course of nature is likely to cause death. That means the act which he performs, normally by performing that act people die. For instance, if we shoot somebody with a gun, obviously that person shall die. So that what is meant by this line, that in ordinary course of nature. Or for example, if we hit somebody with a hatchet, so definitely that person shall die. That act is normally causes death of any person. So this is what is meant by this line, that in normal course of nature causes death of any person. And the third thing is that the person who is doing that act, he must have knowledge that due to that act, if he is going to perform that act, the other person definitely will die. There is probability, just because that his act is so dangerous, that that person shall die. If he performs this act, that means he committed the Qatl. So this was Qatl. There must be presence of intention to kill or to cause bodily injury, and the act is in normally course of nature is likely to cause death. And lastly, that person must have knowledge that his act is so dangerous that there is all probability of the other person's death, and if he performs that act, that means he caused Qatl. Now the punishments of Qatl. The punishment of Qatl, I'll add one more thing here, that section 301 states that if a person has intention to kill, but if he kills the other person, not the person who he intended to kill, that will also be called Qatl. For instance, if A goes to B's house to kill him, to cause his death, but the door is opened by his brother or his sister or his mother or father, whatever, and he in anger shoots at them and kill them, so that would be called Qatl as well, though there was no intention to kill them, but that would be considered as Qatl. Now the punishment of Qatl. The punishment of Qatl is provided under section 302. There are 3 options are provided. Number 1, death as qisas. The person who commits Qatl shall be punished with death as qisas, but there are 2 conditions are provided in section 304 of the PPC, which states that if the person accused confesses his guilt, he says, yes, I have committed this crime, I have committed Qatl. In that case, death as qisas shall be given to that accused. Number 2, if the evidence is according to article 17 of QSO, Qanun Shahadat order, and that means that Tazkiyatu Shahood, witnesses are present and they say, yes, we have seen him, and the case is proved according to article 17, then that accused shall be punished with death as qisas, otherwise not. Secondly, section 302B, which state that where qisas is not proved according to section 304, that means the accused doesn't confess his guilt or the evidence is not according to article 17. In that scenario, giving regard to the facts and circumstances, the punishment of death or life imprisonment as tazir shall be given to that accused. So that was the second option before the court to give. In normal course, the courts usually give death as tazir according to section 302b, because normally the requirement of article 17 is not available. So death as qisas is not given, but death as tazir or life imprisonment as tazir is given to the accused person. Now the third 302c, in this section it says that the court may give punishment as tazir up to 25 years where qisas is not applicable. Then punishment is up to 25 years as tazir. Now the next kind of qatl is Kathal Bisaba. The ingredients of Kathal Bisaba are that if any person with intention to cause bodily injury to that person or to mind of that person, and for that he does an act which in ordinary course of nature is not likely to cause death, and if he performs that act, that means he has committed Qatl Shabih, which means the difference between Qatl Amd and Qatl Shabih Amd is that the intention must be there, but in Qatl Amd the intention was to cause death, but in Qatl Shabih intention was to give bodily injury to that person, and the act which is performed by that accused in Qatl Shabih it is not likely to cause death in normal course of nature. That means if you hit somebody with the stick or with the stone, and if that person dies, in normal course of nature people don't die if we hit somebody with the stick or with the stone. So that is what meant by this line in Qatl Shabih. So that is these are two major differences between Qatl Amd and Qatl Shabih, that in Qatl Amd intention was to cause death, and in Qatl Shabih the intention was to cause bodily injury to that person. And secondly, the act which was performed in Qatl Amd was likely to cause death in normal course of nature, but in Qatl Shabih it is not so. The punishment of Qatl Shabih is provided under section 316, and in that section it is said that if any person commits Qatl Shabih, he shall be punished with diyat, and he may also be punished with punishment of 25 years as tazir. So two punishment, diyat plus up to 25 years of punishment can be given to a person who has committed Qatl Shabih. The next kind of qatl is Qatl khata, and section 317 states that when any person without any intention to cause death or to give harm to any other person, so the presence of the intention is not there, he must not have the intention not even to kill, not even to give any bodily injury to other person, causes death of that person by mistake of fact or mistake of act, that is called Qatl khata. Means that person doesn't have any intention to kill somebody or to give him bodily injury, but just because of mistake of act or mistake of fact he causes death of any person, that is called Qatl khata. Illustrations of mistake of act and mistake of fact: for instance, if A aims at a deer and shoots at that deer, but he misses that aim and the bullet hits to a person B which was standing beside that deer, and B gets killed. Here is B is killed because of mistake of act of A, because there was no intention of A to kill B, but it was just the aim missed and hit B. So this is called mistake of act. Number 2, mistake of fact. If we take the same example, and if A aims at a deer and shoots at that deer, but when he goes near to that deer and he finds out that this is not a deer, this is a human being, so here A has no intention to kill that person, but just because mistake of fact he has killed that person, so he has committed Qatl khata in these two examples. The punishment of Qatl khata, is provided under section 319, and according to section 319, whoever commits Qatl khata shall be punished with diyat. But if it is proved that the Qatl khata is committed just because of rash and negligent act of that person, then in addition to diyat, 5 years of punishment as tazir can also be given to that accused. Now the last kind of qatl is Kathal Bisaba, which is provided in section 321. According to this section, whoever without any intention to cause death or to cause harm to any other person. So in Qatl khata and Kathal Bisaba, in both these two kinds, the intention is never there, not to even kill, not to even give any harm to other person. In Kathal Bisaba, if that person does any act which is unlawful, and because of that unlawful act somebody else dies for which he never intended to kill or to cause harm to that person, is said that he has committed Kathal Bisaba. So the major difference between Qatl khata and Qatl shabih is that in Qatl khata there was the act was not unlawful, but in Kathal Bisaba the act which caused death of any other person is unlawful. For instance, if somebody who doesn't have license to drive, but he drives on a road and accident and somebody gets died just because of that accident, in that scenario his act was unlawful because he was not supposed to drive. So this is Kathal Bisaba. The punishment of Kathal Bisaba is diyat only. I personally don't agree with this one. The punishment of diyat is not enough for Kathal Bisaba, because the act which caused death of somebody else, that is unlawful. Even then only diyat, which is not enough. Thank you very much, Jim. Take care. Allah.